Okay, so we're dealing with the demon judge.
Yeah, a demon judge laying down the law underworld style. We're diving deep into, what is it, The Judge from Hell, this K-drama that's definitely not your average courtroom show. We're looking at episodes 3 and 4, digging into that World Wonders drama recap blog.
I think what grabs you right away is how they flip the whole thing on its head. This demon, Bitna, who goes by Justicia sometimes too, she isn't hiding in some dark corner, you
No?
know. She is front and center, up on that judge's bench, throwing out punishments that probably make, like, even Dante do a double take.
Right, it's intense. And since we're talking about shaking things up, Bitna's kind of got her, her demonic sights set on Detective Daenon. He's understandably freaking out a little. I mean, can you blame him? Her version of justice isn't exactly by the book.
Their whole dynamic is just electric, don't you think? On one hand, you have Bitna, totally comfortable being this powerful demon, almost like she's playful with it. And then there's Daeon trying to wrap his head around a world where the line between what's real and what's supernatural is completely gone. For sure. And things get really personal really fast in these episodes. We jump right back in with Daeon facing, well, a pretty intense situation, and guess who orchestrated the whole thing? Yeah, the demon he's starting to think might actually be, well, exactly what she seems to be.
Except, and this is where the show throws you for a loop, Daeon's not actually the target. Turns out it's a case of mistaken identity, and now, because of her little mishap, she has to punish twice as many murderers as she planned. You could say karma's what goes around comes around.
It really is. You'd think a demon could get away with that kind of stuff, but I guess even the underworld has rules, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of bending the rules, did you catch how Bitna basically stages this whole crime scene just to get Daeon's attention? It's like she's drawn to him or something, and the more we learn about her, the weirder it seems.
Totally. The recap really does a good job of highlighting that struggle she's got going on. See, demons, at least in this show, they're not supposed to feel love.
Yeah.
It's like totally forbidden, could even be deadly. But Bitna Bitna, she can't help but fixate on Daeon. And the things she does, they just get bolder, more reckless almost.
It makes you wonder, what is it about Daeon that's getting through to her? Is it just because he's so dedicated to justice, or is there something more there?
That is the question, isn't it? In this case, it seems pretty straightforward at first, just a wife grieving over her husband, but it reveals something about Daeon, something that might explain why Bitna's so interested. We see these flashbacks to when he was a kid and he saw his parents murdered. The thing is, the police, they didn't believe him.
It's like that trauma, that feeling of being dismissed. It's a part of his work now. It explains why he connects so much with victims, especially kids.
It's almost like a shared wound. Bitna, even with all her power, she's still on the outside. She doesn't fit in with the regular world. And then there's Daeon, doing a very human job, but carrying around the scars of being the one people didn't believe, the one who didn't fit in.
That is such a strong connection, and the show doesn't shy away from it at all. Like, remember that scene where Bitna is listening to a kid's testimony about the case, and she just comes out and says, "I always believe children." It's such a small thing to say, but for Daeon, with his past, it means everything. It's like she gets it, She understands that feeling.
Yeah, it's a huge moment in the show, and it kind of shows you how they're going for something deeper than just the supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
Justice, belief, how trauma affects people, it's all woven in there.
Right. And like that wasn't messy enough already. We also have to deal with the fact that we might actually be watching a demon fall head over heels for a human.
Which, and the recap reminds us of this, is like a recipe for disaster, demon style. It could literally destroy her. This is crazy, right? She's this insanely powerful being, can do all these amazing things, but even she has rules she has to follow, consequences that go way beyond anything in the human world.
That's what makes her thing for Daeon so interesting, don't you think? Like, is she really willing to risk everything just for a connection she doesn't even seem to fully understand herself? What does that even say about love? About desire? When a demon isn't even immune?
We can't forget about the mystery that's getting bigger in these episodes either. Remember that serial killer case from Daeon's past? The one where the only witness was just a kid? Well, guess what? It's back.
Oh, talk about a blast from the past. Makes you wonder, is it just a coincidence? Or is there something more going on? Could Bitna have something to do with it? Or is it just fate messing with both of them?
The recap hints at a connection, and this is where the show really blends the genres so well. You've got the supernatural, the romance that's starting up, but then you have this suspense, these unanswered questions that keep you hooked.
And like things weren't interesting enough, Bitna's past decides to show up again too. Her ex-fiancé, what was his name? Tigu, right? And his dad, the politician, they're back.
Ah, the meddling family. Can't have a K-drama without those, right? Though This one has a bit of a demonic twist. The recap didn't go into a ton of detail about why they're really there, but you can tell they know something about Bitna, and it's freaking her out a little.
It's like they've got a piece of the puzzle, and it could either save her or destroy her, and I'm guessing knowing Vidna, she's not going to back down, especially when it comes to protecting the people she cares about.
And this brings us to something a lot of the commenters were saying about, well, Bitna's punishments. They're intense, right? Brutal even, but also kind of satisfying to watch.
Yeah, it's like that guilty pleasure we all have seeing the bad guys get what's coming to them, but like turned up to 11. The show doesn't hold back on showing what happens when you do bad stuff. And yeah, some people thought it was too much, but others found it really cathartic.
I think it reflects our own weird relationship with justice. Like, do we believe in an eye for an eye? Or is there a line, even with revenge, the judge from hell makes you face those questions even while you're enjoying the show?
And speaking of enjoying the show, we got to talk about the romance because honestly, that's why we're all hooked, right?
Yeah.
The recap even called out the whole love next door thing they've got going on, which, surprise, surprise, Bitna and Don end up as neighbors.
It's classic for a reason. You're forced to be close, all the awkward run-ins. It's like a recipe for romantic tension. And in this case, with them being, demon and human, the stakes are through the roof.
Totally. This isn't your run-of-the-mill will they or won't they. This is like one right step and boom, there go the consequences big time. If Bitten falls in love, she could lose everything, even herself.
Which leads to a pretty big question. Is love worth risking everything for? Is it really that strong? Can it really bridge that gap between two people who are so different, so fundamentally at odds?
Exactly. Before we go totally down that rabbit hole, though, let's get back to the characters themselves. What else did the recap say about what drives them? What makes them tick?
So Bitnan, what's interesting about her is that she's not your typical demon. Sure, she's powerful, and yeah, she can be ruthless. But there's this playful side to her, too, like a quirky sense of humor, especially with her clothes.
Oh, yeah. People in the comments were loving her style, like the power suits, but then also the more casual outfits. It's like her wardrobe is another way she's saying, hey, I'm not what you expect.
Exactly. She's a walking contradiction, a demon who jams out to classical music, a dispenser of justice who's not afraid to break the rules a little. And then there's Dae-on, our by-the-book kind of serious detective. Or is he?
That's the thing, right? The recap mentioned how some viewers thought he was acting a little, I don't know, inconsistently in these episodes. One minute he's suspicious of Bitna, the next he's drawn to this vulnerable side of her.
It's true, and it shows you how complex he is. He's dealing with all this past trauma. His entire worldview is being rocked by Bitna just existing. He can't help but be drawn to her, but he's also scared, right? Scared of what that attraction could mean for him, for the world.
It's that back and forth, that dance they're doing while they try to figure each other out. And honestly, that's what makes watching them so interesting. You're right there with them, trying to figure out every look, every word, every little step closer they take. And it's those little moments, the ones where they let their guard down. That's when the show really gets to you, makes you think about what it means to be human, even when you've got a demon thrown in the mix.
Exactly. It's about that need to connect, to find someone who gets you, even when it seems impossible. And this is actually where one of the comments got really interesting. They compared The Judge from Hell to all those romantic comedies lately with, like, serial killers in them.
Oh, wow, I see it. It's like the show takes that whole thing and cranks it up with some supernatural drama. We're not talking about some charming murderer next door. We're talking about a demon who might just steal your heart and then, oh yeah, your soul.
It just shows you how good the show is at keeping you guessing, but still giving you the good stuff. The romance, the mystery, that little thrill of not knowing what's going to happen next. Another commenter, I thought this was interesting. They were saying they could totally see Dae-on, all serious and moral and everything, in that other K-drama, No Gain, No Love.
It's funny how people connect with characters, right? Like, we see them through our own favorites, what we like. It shows you how powerful stories are, how we can take our own wishes and daydreams and put them onto these fictional characters.
Absolutely. Speaking of wishes and daydreams, someone pointed out the irony of having Bitna, a literal demon, be the one dealing out justice. It makes you think about what's right and wrong, who gets to decide that kind of thing.
It's definitely a theme running through the whole show. Is Bitna's version of justice the real deal? Or is it just revenge with a fancy title?
And then you have Dae-on with his own history of things not being fair. How does he deal with the way Bitna does things? These questions, they stick with you, even after the episode's over.
Okay, but the show's not all serious business. One commenter, I think they were joking, but they said the show missed a golden opportunity not getting some Z-Cola product placement in there. Remember, Bitna loves that stuff.
It's those little things that really bring the world to life, even a crazy world like The Judge from Hell. But we can't forget about that ending. Bitna passes out cold, and when she finally wakes up, bam, guess who her new next-door neighbor is? The love next door trope in all its glory. You can practically picture the cheesy music playing as they bump into each other in the hall, awkward elevator rides, maybe even those late-night talks that start friendly and end up, well, a little flirty.
Except, let's not forget, we've got a demon and a human here. The stakes are huge. If Bitna falls for him, it could literally destroy her.
So that brings us back to that big question. Is love worth it? Can it really overcome that much? When they're so different, so completely opposite in every way.
We'll have to keep watching to find out. The recap leaves us hanging with this. What if Bitna has to choose? Her love for Daeon, or being a demon? What if being with him means losing herself, the very thing that makes her who she is?
It's a question that goes way beyond this show. It's about all of us, how much we're willing to give up for love, for something real, something amazing.
Definitely something to think about. And on that note, we'll leave you to explore the world of the Judge from Hell. Until next time, happy watching.